If you missed what happened during day 6 of the Keffe D trial, well, you are in for a treat. And even if you saw what happened during the Keffe D trial, it's worth a watch again, because during cross-examination from Keffe D's defense attorney, the man who was on the stand, Mike Dorsey, is the producer of a documentary that was done about Keffe D and what led up to Tupac's murder. They're going back and forth. I mean, Mike Dorsey, the man on the stand, is absolutely giving so much pushback to Keffe D's attorney, and I mean, it even gets pretty tense that the judge has to step in at certain points. So we're actually going to get into the court proceedings here. Make sure you guys watch this and check out every single second of this, because it's much TV, and let me know what you think in the comments.
And in that interview, you had told Mr. Desborough that you had to send out 100 emails to Metro.
Eventually, once we're going back and forth, yes.
Okay, and those emails were all concerning the Tupac case.
Yes, correct.
Now,
and that was over the course of several years.
Fine.
Okay.
But once again, you had said, hey, we have information, please look at my documentary, right? Something along those lines.
No, that's not what I said. I said watch Death Row Chronicles.
Oh, I apologize. So,
you keep conflating my documentary with the series Death Row Chronicles. I did not make Death Row Chronicles. I was just a consultant on it.
Okay.
But that's the one where Keffe first went public with his interview, which made it noteworthy enough for me to be like, you should look at this. This is new information for your case.
And when you sat down to actually start working on the project Death Row Chronicles,
yes,
we are listening to audio of those 2 interviews that happened, right?
correct.
Now, up until that point, fair to say, Mr. Davis had never spoken about this publicly.
To my knowledge, he had never spoken publicly about this case. No, that's what made it significant.
Right, and you had been aware, of course, that according to your understanding of the proffer of 2008, if he didn't say anything to, like, say, a media source, then the proffer would still be protecting him.
That's how I understood it, yes.
So, in essence, when you were sitting down with Mr. Davis, you were pushing him to violate the proffer.
I'm not pushing him. I'm not even in the room with him.
I know. We're going to talk about that in a second.
Okay.
But in essence, you are on a little earbud or something along those lines in another room, and you're telling the interviewer to keep pressing on Mr. Davis.
I was not thinking at all about him violating his proffer. I honestly didn't think the proffer would ever be used. I didn't understand that's how that worked. I thought he's giving a public confession. That public confession can be used, absolutely.
Now, in addition to that, you are in another room, and you do not want to be seen by Mr. Davis.
That's correct.
In fact, Mr. Kading, Detective Kading, former Detective Kading, is also not present because he does not want to be seen by Mr. Davis.
That's correct.
And so, in essence, as you're sitting there listening to the conversation, you're telling the person information that's specific to the 2008 recording.
Yes, I'm going. I know when he knows more to a question that he hasn't answered yet, or if there's another way to phrase a question that might help.
Now, in
But I
addition,
can tell you sorry to cut you off, but most of the questions were written in advance. I only offered up maybe a half dozen total across 2 interviews of additional questions.
yeah. So let's make sure we understand, because we're not in the room and there's no cameras. As we're listening to the recording, there's another voice that's on the recording, sometimes talking about getting a Diet Coke or something to do like, "Oh, this is great." Is that you?
No, there were a couple other. It depended on when people came and went from that office, and there was different people in there on different days. It was just employees of the production company or other contractors that were on that show.
And in addition to that, while you're sitting there, you're having these conversations about Mr. Davis, and you are, is it typing? Because I'm hearing like little knocks on something. Is that you texting?
That's me texting, yes.
And so you're texting the individual that's listening?
I'm texting Maria Diaz, yes, sir.
Now, as you're doing that, of course, Mr. Davis does not know that you're doing that.
Correct.
And you are working at that particular point for which company?
I was a contractor for Entertainment One / Creature Films, the production company.
So you are not an employee, you're an independent contractor?
Correct.
All right. Technically working for yourself?
Sure.
All right. And the contract that was between Mr. Davis and whoever on the show would have been who? You?
No, it would have been with the production company.
All right. So the production company meaning who?
Again, Entertainment One or Creature Films. I'm not sure who he dealt with.
Okay. So Mr. Davis has a contract with regards to the production, and during the time period that we are listening to your recording, fair to say though that you have basically taken your phone and placed it by the speaker,
Yes, that's correct.
and you're basically recording the entire conversation,
That's right.
including the parts that technically was never ever either produced in a BET production or anything like that.
There was some extra.
I want to
bits in
know
there,
where he's
sure.
going with
Sure.
this.
And once again, you didn't have the permission of either BET to do that, right?
Again, I didn't have to seek their permission to do it.
You're an independent contractor. You don't have a contract with Mr. Davis. So tell me how you believe you could record that without Mr.
Sure.
Davis's permission.
Absolutely. I'm a technical.
It calls for a legal conclusion.
I'm asking for his contract, Your Honor.
Overruled. I think he can answer the question as
Sure.
asked.
A couple of things. First of all, contract does not outline every single duty that a contract that a crew member is going to do on a shoot. It's not like you have to constantly keep getting permission to do stuff in order to do your job. My job there was primarily centered on his interview. So once I realized that when he showed up that first day and was kind of giving them the runaround, and he was dressed in shorts and a t-shirt and was acting like he didn't know why he was supposed to be there and that the interview wasn't supposed to be that day, I sat in that office for quite a while before they got started. And then when we've learned that basically, look, we're going to have to interview this guy twice. We're going to try to get him in now and get something, but he's going to have to come back later. I thought, okay, well, then I'm going to record it so that in between these interviews, I don't know how long it's going to be before we get him back again, I have a record of what he said so that when we come back for round two, I know proper questions that should be in there, what has already been answered thoroughly, and what we need to ask him again. That is why I made that recording. Never in a million years did I think that that recording was going to be playing in court.
And of course, you turned over that recording to BET because, once again, it's part of their work, right?
No, of course not.
You kept that recording.
Yes.
And you do understand, though, that in the state of California, if you are recording someone without their permission, that is a crime.
Objection calls for a legal conclusion again.
I'm asking for his understanding of the laws, Your Honor.
Calls for a legal
Sustained.
conclusion.
Sure, I'll
It's sustained. Hang on. You can, if you want to rephrase without asking him about a specific California law.
That's all right. He's ready to do it. Let me ask you this question, though, sir. When you are recording this conversation,
yes.
did you, at that particular point, turn it over to Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department?
I did not.
You kept that recording,
Yes.
and then you created your project with that, right?
No. I've never used that recording for anything. What project are you talking about?
Let me ask you this, though, sir. In terms of who's responsible here to solve the Tupac murder, that's not your responsibility,
It
right?
can be anybody's responsibility.
Okay. You're saying that it's not Metro's?
It could be theirs as well. Of course it is.
Uh,
Any citizen can investigate a crime if they want to.
Right, and we're going to get into that a little bit, but in terms of how you go about doing your job, fair to say that a detective would be the one that would handle that investigation,
Sure.
right?
At some point, sure.
Right, and it's not like, say, the FBI, it's not LAPD, right? Compton PD. In this case, the Tupac murder was the responsibility of Metro.
To some extent, except that I know LAPD made the argument that if the crime was planned in the city of Los Angeles, that they could also take ownership of the case. And you can ask Greg Kading about that if he comes up here.
I don't even know what you just said. I'm just asking you this question.
I mean,
Let me just ask you this question, sir. So, you send over notice to Metro, and you say, hey, we solved this thing. You send over 100 emails to Metro, and they didn't do anything about it, did they?
no, because they were,
No, that's a yes or no answer. They didn't do anything about it.
what didn't do anything about it. Define didn't do anything. They were working the case as far as I was concerned. They were responding to me. I was sending them because he kept talking. He started doing YouTube interviews. So every time he would do an interview, I'd send it to him. Be like, hey, here's a new interview. Hey, this clip, he says this for the first time publicly. He says this. And there was back and forth going on with me and Detective Mogg. So I got the sense that he was absolutely working that case. And it's detective work 101. If your suspect is talking, you let him talk. And he was talking, so every interview he did was additional evidence to use against him.
Okay. So what was he talking in?
What was he talking in?
Sure. What was the information that he was talking in? Are you talking about your documentary at this particular point?
No. I'm talking about he's going on YouTube. He's going on Vlad TV. He went on, I think he ended up doing a total of 9 interviews on YouTube. over a 4-year period.
Did you verify any of the information that he gave you?
What do you mean?
Well, the information that you learned in this case,
That
right?
who gave me?
Well, the information that you learned from either the listing of the 2008 proper or in the interview with Mr. Davis. Did you go out and conduct your own investigation to verify the information?
Sure, I went through, well, again, I had unfettered access to the case files, and there's lots of corroborating evidence in those case files.
Now, when you say the case files, and I want to make sure I'm clear here,
Sure.
you're talking about Greg Kading,
Yes.
and you're talking about Greg Kading, who's former LAPD.
Well, I'm not just talking about Greg Kading, I'm talking about every detective that
Just
came
answer
before
my
him.
question,
I
please.
am. You're trying to phrase it in a certain way. Not just Greg Kading. It's not just his files. In fact, the majority of them are from detectives that came before him, including Las Vegas police files.
All right. What detectives are you talking about before Greg Kading?
Sure. A lot of the biggie detectives had gathered evidence. Don't shake your head. A lot of biggie detectives gathered evidence. Jeez, man. A lot of biggie detectives that gathered evidence that pertained to the Tupac case because the two cases it became known or believed were connected. So they had informants coming forward to them on the biggie case that were saying, hey, these two things are connected.
Okay. So once again, evidence or information that would have gone to the detective, right?
Eventually to Greg Kading and his team of detectives, yes.
Once again, you got to understand, Greg Kading was not responsible for the investigation of the Tupac murder.
Correct.
He was part of the task force specifically for the Biggie Smalls murder.
That's correct.
And you are aware at some point he's removed from that task force, right?
Yes.
And one of the things he does is he steals the Tupac file.
I
right?
object to the word steals.
I'm sorry, he
Well, you
borrowed.
can't.
I don't mean in like a legal sense I object to it. This is a person I object to.
I guess I would.
I'm not raising an objection. I take issue with the word
Okay.
steal.
Okay.
Any detective can take case files with them when they leave the department. It happens all the time. It's extremely common. In fact, I just did a series on Ted Bundy last year based on the same exact thing. One of the lead detectives on the Bundy case in the 70s took a box of files with him, and we were able to obtain those files, and we made a show about Ted Bundy based on his files.
Are you a detective, sir?
No.
So you can't sit here and tell us what a detective can and cannot do. Fair? You're not a detective.
Like legally, I can't say that. I can say based on my experience as a true crime producer for the past 20 years, it's very common in my line of work to come across files that detectives have taken home with them.
That's fair.
So I want to make sure I'm clear. You're telling us that Detective Kading took a file that he wasn't even part of the investigation on? You're saying that that's what happened here?
That object, I assume, a fact, not an evidence.
No, I think he mentioned that, Judge.
What do you mean? He took a file that was not a case he didn't work?
Yes.
As soon as Keffe confessed to the
It's getting
Tupac
spicy
murder,
here.
they took ownership of that case. And again, you're going to have to ask him that question because I was not there for that.
So, once again, that's something you're saying that Greg Kading should come here and testify to.
If he wants to, sure.
And once again, based upon your research of this file for the 2 years prior to the documentary or the project that you were working on.
Yes.
Apologize for that.
Murder rap, yes.
You learned, of course, that Greg Kading was basically had issues with credibility.
Objection, Judge. Reproach.
Yep.
Uh-oh. He said, "Don't shake your head." Oh my goodness, he was not feeling that. Don't shake your head. Hey, shout out to Mike, man. He's up there standing on business. He is not scared of this attorney. He wants to be an attorney himself. He said, "I object. I object, Your Honor. I don't like that question. Can we approach?" No, sir, you can't approach. You're not an attorney. Shout out to Mike for standing on business.